The case of McDonald v. Chicago is the most recent of the cases that you have to know. It's the most recent mandatory case. And this deals with the issue of gun ownership. So the case arose in 2008 when a man named Otis McDonald basically filed suit in a U.S. District Court to challenge provisions of an old Chicago law from 1982 that basically banned new registration of handguns and basically made registration a prerequisite of possessing a firearm. So you can only own a firearm if you could get registered, and they weren't really accepting any new registrations. So basically, what this was establishing was almost a complete handgun ban on new registrations in Chicago, Illinois. So the question deals with whether Chicago's strict handgun registration requirements were constitutional or if this violated the Second Amendment. So what's important to note is that 2 years earlier, in the case of D.C. versus Heller, the Supreme Court for the first time ruled that individuals in Washington, D.C. had the right to own handguns, right? So Washington, D.C. 2 years earlier had a handgun ban, and the Supreme Court ruled that that violated an individual's right to own a gun. That was basically the first time that the Supreme Court had said that individuals have a right to own a gun, that the Second Amendment protects individuals from basically have the right to own a gun. Well, why does this case have to be heard then, right? Because D.C. versus Heller involves the District of Columbia, which isn't actually part of a state. It's D.C. It's something very different. So the decision in D.C. v. Heller only dealt with Washington, D.C. It couldn't be transferred to all the other states because D.C. isn't a state. So what now had to happen was another case had to come to the Supreme Court that involved a regular city from a regular state, Chicago and Illinois. So this is essentially dealing with the same question that was dealt with in D.C. v. Heller, but this involves a regular city and a regular state. So this is a Second Amendment case about gun ownership rights. The Supreme Court decided 5-4 in favor of McDonald and basically said that no, Chicago's handgun restrictions were not constitutional, that individuals have a right to own a gun. So this is a Second Amendment case, but what it does is, and this is why the 14th Amendment due process clause is involved, is this officially incorporates the Second Amendment. Remember, incorporation is when a case involves like a city as part of a regular state, and other states are meant to then provide this protection after the fact, right? Every other state's going to have to do this. So the 14th Amendment now incorporates, based on this decision, the Second Amendment, right, to all other states. Remember, initially, only the national government is providing all the protections of the Bill of Rights, and then the 14th Amendment due process clause in the late 1860s, one by one, forces cases to be heard involving residents of states saying that their rights were being violated by the state government. And the 14th Amendment then, if the case was ruled in favor of the citizen, like it was in this case, would then incorporate the amendment, meaning all future states would have to abide by this in the future. So because D.C. v. Heller only involved the District of Columbia, it couldn't incorporate it. But because this handgun ban that was declared unconstitutional and the citizen won, this now incorporates the amendment. So it's really a Second Amendment case, but the 14th Amendment due process clause is used to incorporate the Second Amendment now to all the other states.